All right. All right, so let's jump right in. So a little bit about this release candidate. So this is our second release candidate for 3.0. And some of the highlights of this release are the upgrades that we've done for PHP unit and PHP to be in line with Magento's 2.4 release requirements for these versions. We've also have some enhancements to Alert, as well as some fixes and some community contributions. So let's jump right in. So version upgrades. So for this release candidate, we have included support for PHP 7.3 and above, so that we are compatible with Magento 2.4.0. We've also dropped support for PHP 7.2. So in RC1, we drop support for 7.0 and 7.1, and in this one, we have drop support for 7.2 as well. And with that, we have upgraded PHP unit to 9, and we also bumped up some dependencies to PHP unit like Codeception. The Codeception, we have Codeception 4 support now with this release. So most of the work that we've done for RC2 revolves around these to make the framework compatible with the new versions, and also incorporate some new MFTF actions that these new versions bring in. So what we've seen is with PHP Unit 9, there are significant amount of changes to the way assertions work. So I'll talk a little bit about the assert contains improvements that PHP Unit 9 has brought in, and she's incorporated in MFTF. So the change to assert contains is that it now supports only iterable haystacks. And what that means is for any assert contains that we do on strings would no longer be supported. And for that, PHP Unit has introduced a few new actions for particularly catering to string haystacks, like assert string contains string, string not contains string, and other variations of that. So what this means to the MFTF, the existing MFTF tests, is that for usages of assert contains on iterable objects like arrays would still work. However, for comparisons with string haystacks, we have replaced the assert contains usage with assert string contains string and string not contains string in all the tests, including CEE, BUB, as well as the extension builds. So for test writers, what would change in this case would be you would have to be mindful of using assert contains and make sure that you're doing it on iterable haystacks and using assert string contains string for string haystacks. So these are some examples of how they would be used going forward. So moving on to the next change, assert equals. I'll pass it over to Tom to talk about it. Tom, are you on?
Yeah, sorry I'm a bit late. I got here just in time.
Great.
Okay, so assert equals. Previously, assert equals would do loose comparisons. As the example shows there, 45 used to equal 45.00. But something about PHP Unit 9 changed this, and now it's very strict. So we had to go through and update some of the tests to make comparisons that would actually equal each other, because some of the tests were written kind of loosely as well. So we fixed a bunch of tests. We also removed the delta argument from assert equals and not equals. Delta used to forget exactly how it worked. It used to let you say that two things were equal within some sort of delta. So I think it was like if you said 44 was equal to 45 and then you gave it a delta of 1, I think it would equal true in that case. It's a little hard for me to keep straight how that works, but I think that's how it worked. But that is no longer an argument to these assert equals and assert not equals actions. Instead, we introduced some new ones that are part of PHP Unit 9 as well. Assert equals with delta, assert not equals with delta. You can look up the documentation if you're curious exactly how that delta thing works, because I think I might have it backwards. Also, assert equals canonicalizing. It's a hard word to say, canonicalizing. And assert not equals canonicalizing. So this one as well, you may want to look up the documentation. Basically, if you give it two arrays and you say one of them is sorted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the other array is like 5, 3, 4, 2, 1, what it will do is it'll first sort both the arrays and then make sure they're equal or not equal. So that helps in some ways when you don't know the order of an array, but you know that you want it to contain all the same things. And then, of course, assert equals ignoring case and not equals ignoring case. That just means ignoring the case sensitivity. So capital A would equal lowercase a. And these are new actions that you can use in your tests, just like anything else. But the important thing is to note that assert equals did change, so be a bit more careful when you write tests using that action. It's going to be more strict.
PHP Unit 9 dropped assertions. Passed over to G to talk about it.
Yes, in PHP Unit 9, these three assertions, like assert internal types, assert not internal types, and assert array subset, has been dropped. The replacement is not really useful for the functional test. We don't see the usage, so there's currently no replacement for these.
So if
Yeah, I need to share my screen. So for in this release, we also moved the PHP dependency up to from 7.3 up to 7.3 and including 7.4. For the PHP 7.4 support, we bump several internal dependencies, and one of them is money format has been deprecated. So we have a customer function called format money, and that's been replaced as format currency. This is just format a number as specific currency for specified locale. There's no, it's only number format. There's no currency exchange. So the syntax you can use is you specify the number and the locale and currency. These are all required attributes. And the expected, the formatted result will be returned through the step key. When you're referencing that, the expected result for this one is like you can see the number is formatted for German locale and but it's a US dollar. And this is you can see the decimal point and the thousand separator changed accordingly. The next one is we introduced a new static check to check deprecated entities usage. There's two syntax you can use without any options, just run static check deprecated entity usage. In this case, we will search the entirely Magento codebase attached to MFTF and detect any violations. Alternatively, you can use a -- path and specify the path to a test MFTF test module. Then in that case, it will only search any deprecate usage for that inside that particular module. I'm going to demo some of the examples. So let's look at the currency first. So similarly, like what I showed in the slides, so that we have a test that's you can see that we define some number and we show in DE locale the currency in euro with positive and negative number, and the same number we again display for US dollar in positive and negative. And also we also demo like the number can actually come from a variable with either persistence or a grabbed variable from an earlier call. So we run this. So as expected, like when we display in euro, the formatted result is in euro currency, and when we format the same also in German locale for US dollar, you get the US dollar currency, and of course you can also format a variable, a value from a variable. And my second demo is for the static check. So I'm currently attaching to a Magento CE from yesterday. To my surprise, that's right. So we have one violation. This is actually not by design. It's a surprise to me. I think when I finished the static check, we also have a separate task to clean up the whole Magento code base, including CBEs for all the deprecated usage, the violations. And when that's delivered in about a week ago. And because we haven't enabled this static check, and when I run this, we already have one violation. So this is, let's look at, this is a test. Things like we have these tests that's using a deprecated action group. So in this test, it says, like in this test, we have a deprecate action group used. Let's find that. So you can see there's 40 some usage in this test. And you can see that this action group is actually indeed marked as deprecated because of super action group usage. But so from this example, actually, it shows the our previous problems. I can see, like in our code base, there's many deprecated entity in tests, action groups, datas, and all over the place being marked. But it's not, although the usage has not been removed at the same time, it caused a lot of unmaintainable code for the future. So it generally is not like very straightforward to fix this type of issue. For example, there's for the super action group, as an example, they usually suggest you to use several splitted smaller action groups. But if you do the refactor, end up you found like in some tests, there's a merge file, and also in the merge file, there is some specified steps that depending on the previous action groups, certain steps. It's very complicated to fix those issues. So with these static checks in place, we hope that we can, at least when people deprecating stuff, need to be very careful and clean up what they did. I think that's one more thing. We also have the usage for running on with a path for a module. I think I have an example for potentially this static check can detect. So this is I run with a test module that has all kinds of deprecation usage. You can see like it can detect from a text file a deprecated data usage and deprecated section usage, elements, page, action groups, and also the data usage. And it will also detect from the action group's perspective if an action, even though, for example, if the action group is not used anywhere, but an action group is extending from another action group which is deprecated or using anything deprecated, it will still detect So that's from action group's perspective. We'll detect everything. And we also check suites. For suites, if you use the deprecated entity, you will detect. And also in data, if the data, even though without usage, we will still check if a data has referencing a deprecated metadata or extending from a deprecated entity. And sometimes a data can require other entity, other datas, and other types. So in those cases, we'll also detect the reference. I think that's all from my side. I will hand over to the next presenter.
All right, thanks, G. Go ahead. Yeah, so talking a little bit about some changes that some actions have undergone due to the upgrade with Codeception 4. So switch to iframe has changed a bit. So it now allows iframes to be located by CSS and XPath as well. So we've kind of overridden this function to include identification by ID, name, CSS, and XPath in order to preserve the backward compatibility with existing tests. Should be able to use CSS and XPath going forward as well with for locators in switch to iframe. The second change was pause execution action has been removed in Codeception 4. So we've dropped support for that. And in favor of that, we're using WebDriver's pause action. They used to, this action is used to debug tests, to pause tests during Codeception debug and run commands. That also with Allure Codeception 1.4 upgrade, we encountered some issues with the way our reports are getting aggregated when split suites are run in parallel. So we had some, so there are no changes to the way reporting the Allure reports look like or anything, but there were some internal changes done to this class to fix certain issues that came out of the upgrade. We also made some changes to the way we are, the split suites are named because we were seeing some issues when Codecept run command runs suites which are renamed for parallel execution. But nothing has really changed for the end users. I think it's just the way it currently works. That's all there is for Codeception 4 upgrade. Moving on to the slide, Allure enhancement. Kevin, you on?
Yes, I am. I was having issues connecting earlier, but I am now here. But yeah, under traceability, Allure enhancements, new env parameter verbose _ artifacts to toggle saving of attachments in Allure. So we changed it such that there's a new default mode of set to false, where the artifacts are saved only if the test has failed, and true, the artifacts are saved all the time. So that's kind of a weird one. But the idea behind this one is unless you want to see artifacts, all of the really verbose artifacts for passing tests, you don't need to change anything. Let me show you guys how it works real quick. Show a little quick demo of the way that this flag works. So I have under my env here, verbose artifacts equals to false. This is the same as not defining it at all, but for demo's sake, we're going to go ahead and show it to you. I have the action don't see in current URL that under normal circumstances, it'll have extra attachments underneath it. And those are the artifacts that we're actually talking about. We're not talking about passing tests don't show up in Allure at all, or that steps are somehow missing. It's just the nitty-gritty artifacts of stuff like create data, don't see in current URL, assert comparisons, that kind of stuff. And so here's what I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. So I have it set to false. In this test, I'm going to make sure that I don't see not in URL over here. And I'm going to run the test really quick. What will happen is the test is going to pass. It doesn't see not in URL, so then it passes, obviously. So let's go ahead and Allure serve. And you can see that under normal circumstances, this step right here would have actually attachments underneath it, like a text attachment that I can show you here in a second. Oh, you guys probably couldn't see the Allure report, actually. Let me switch it over real quick. There we go. This is what I was talking about. The see in current URL action normally has extra attachments underneath. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out, go back into PHP Storm. And we're going to go ahead and change this verbose artifacts equal to true. And all I'm going to do is rerun the test. Nothing changed about the test. Let's go ahead and Allure serve. And we should see now that the don't see in current URL right here has the expected and then the actual, right? So this looks kind of weird only because we're not actually going anywhere in the MFTF test. But this is just to show you guys what kind of artifacts are and are not there whenever you don't have the flag toggled. Now, let's just go ahead and do the opposite real quick. We're going to go see that the current URL has something that it doesn't have it when verbose artifact is equal to false, right? So this is default behavior, not changing the flag at all. We should see that the test is going to fail. And I'm just going to go ahead and share it again here. Okay, so if the flag is set to false, and I can see that this isn't in the URL as per the comparison, this is the flag being set to false, nothing changed, all the artifacts here as normal. I can change in PHP Storm the flag equal to true. I'm just going to do that really quick and run the test because it is incredibly fast. So I'm running the test failed. I'm going to serve Allure. We're going to see a new report come up. And even with the flag set to true or false, failing tests are always going to have their artifacts saved. So what is this trying to accomplish? This feature is trying to accomplish basically saving space of seeing unnecessary artifacts. As we add more artifacts to Allure, the size of the artifacts of all the MFTF tests is essentially starting to go up and up and up. And in an effort to basically try to maintain it sane and only save what we need, we introduce this flag. If any of our external users don't like this feature or something like that, or are using it in their own CI systems or anything like that, and they want essentially the behavior to go back to what it was prior to this introduction of this env variable, that's completely fine. All you have to do is set verbose artifacts to true, and then the old behavior MFTF is going to be what it was essentially. But if you want to make use of this feature and only see all of the verbose artifacts only for your failing tests, just don't include it at all or include it and set it to false, like so. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen because that's pretty much all of the demoable portion of that one.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
Of course, thank you.
So community issues and PRs, we had one contribution, Alex, from Mukesh. Alex, you want to talk about it?
Hi guys, sure. Yeah, so we have a pull request delivered to RC2 branch from Lukasz Bajzarovich. So what he did previously when one of the persistence actions like create data, update data, delete data failed, we didn't store our request data. We didn't attach those request data to our actions in the Lu report. So what Lukasz did, he's updated how this works, and right now when the action fails, you should be able to see what request body you sent to the Magento instance. It is very good improvement because in most cases we need those request data when action is fails, but not when action passed. Yep, that's pretty much it.
All right. Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Lukasz, for your contribution. So this is all about the new features of RC2, and I'll just take a quick minute to talk a little bit about the RC2 delivery process. Since this release candidate is tightly coupled with the version upgrades of PHP and PHP unit, we are in the process of delivering this RC to the 2.4 develop PHP 7.4 branch, and these are the branches where all the PHP 7.4 upgrades are going into. So we're working with the Trigger team to get this, along with the test updates that we did to support this release to these branches. So it's not available on mainline yet, but it will soon be when these PHP 7.4 branches get merged to mainline. So for folks who would want to use this branch, there is a prerequisite that your development branches would have to be updated with PHP 7.4 and PHP Unit 9. And also, while we were working on this release, we also had to upgrade our PHP Storm to 2020.1. We were seeing some issues with codeception run command on the older versions of PHP Storm. So the latest version of PHP Storm has compatibility with PHP Unit 9. So an upgrade is recommended if you plan to debug your tests using codeception. I think anything else, team, to be missed out anything? Any questions, folks on the call, on this release candidate? All right, then. There's nothing else. I think this is it for today. Thank you all for joining. Let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to ping us on our MFTF Slack channel or just reach out to us in case of any issues or questions. And you guys have a great day, and see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much.